Hi, everybody. Thomas Miller on the Fun Astrology Podcast. Thanks for stopping by. I am 1 foot on a banana peel here as we begin this week of October 7th, getting ready to head out the door and hit the road for a couple of weeks, and some of my normal gear has been packed in the bags. But let's take a look at the week ahead, and I will be with you every day on the podcasts and anything in between as needed. We have a very interesting week, and I'm not going to go through all of the aspects this week like we normally do, because if I did, first of all, we'd be here for about 3 hours, and the second is you'd be going like this. I mean, it is like there is so much going on, and there's a real simple reason. Earlier this year, we had all of the planets clustered up in a really tight bundle when everything was in Capricorn and Aquarius and Pisces. Everything was just super tight. All the planets were in a row on the wheel. And now they're all dithered out. And with that comes a lot of connected energy. First part of the year, when did it break up? Started breaking up in May, June. We had really tight, focused, laser beam kind of energy in the chart and in the sky. And we all felt it. Remember how heavy it felt? It still does, I know. But now, as you can see clearly, everything is spread out. I mean, literally, back in the earlier part of the year, we would have, let's say everything was stacked up right in here. All the planets were like in this kind of a, and then maybe the moon would be over here and you'd have one aspect line. Well, we don't have that now, obviously, and you can see it looks like some kind of sacred geometry tapestry, if you will, in the middle of the chart. And boy, by the time we get to the end of October, it really almost is a sacred geometry kind of image in the middle of the wheel. I think it's on the 28th, if you'd like to look ahead. But I'm going to go through a couple of highlights, and then the big thing for this week is to just enjoy the energy of the week. And I think that's the thing that we need to capture. And actually, this week's energy, to me, as I've looked at this several different ways and times and perspectives, I think is not bad. For example, let's just start off with one here that kicks off the week. This will be Tuesday at 6:21 a.m. is a water trine between Venus there, not so happy in Scorpio, and Mars up here, not so happy in Cancer. But it's a blue line. Look, we'll kind of pick some of this apart. In fact, let me just do an audible real quick here. Let's just do one. Well, no, because we've got some squares coming up. We'll just leave it like this. We can do it. We got this. But I wanted to show you this triangle here, because that's the kind of configuration that we're talking about. See the blue triangle in the middle of all of that? Well, that's a water trine, and the other character in the play here is Saturn, although lagging a little bit and going the wrong direction. Remember, Saturn's going backwards right now. But here is the exact that happens on Tuesday, and this really kicks the week off. But both of these planets are in signs that they're not so happy in. Venus has just left its home of Libra. It don't like Scorpio, and Mars is, Cancer is just way too emotional and watery and feely for Mars. Boom, bam, fire energy. Let's get it done. Let's get it rolling. What do you mean it feels this way or such a thing? Let's just do it, right? That's Mars. So with that, we have a little bit of conflict within an otherwise positive aspect. So it's a trine, but it's tense. So I think with this one, we have to watch both sides. We talk about this on the audio podcast actually this week, that it would be one to have that count to 20 mode going on, because you don't want to fire something off that could upset, particularly around the Venusian areas, love, money, home. So those were the, guard up, right? So play both sides. But also, you may have had some really passionate time this weekend together. If you're in a committed relationship like that. Yeah, could be hot. Like it could be really spicy. But it also, if you say the wrong thing, might delay that for weeks or months till next time. So just be careful. All right, now Mercury. Remember last week it was so in the show? Well, see, we have this bam, bam, bam. So Venus, Mars is at 6:21 Eastern on Tuesday morning. This one is at 8:22, and this is the trine to Jupiter. This is an air trine. Now, there's another configuration in the chart. I'll show you right here. It's hard to pick out. It's a mystic rectangle. See all of that? Blue lines. So on the short sides of the rectangle are sextiles, on the long sides are trines, and the players involved, well, really, we can say the part of fortune too. See, this is where I'm saying this week is actually pretty good. So the exact aspect that happens on Tuesday morning is between Mercury and Jupiter. Now, some say that Jupiter is the highest or higher octave of Mercury. Some say Uranus. Some say both. Robert Glasscock and I addressed this on a recording that we're doing called Conflicted Mutables that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. And we talked about it, and he said Jupiter being the higher octave of Mercury. So this is a very positive thing. In fact, this one right here sets to me the drumbeat for the positive side of the week. And I mean, this is a really big aspect. Mercury, more of a trigger planet over here in Libra, and Jupiter. And even though Jupiter is not happy in Gemini, why is Jupiter not happy? Because Jupiter rules down here Sagittarius. And anytime a planet is in the sign opposite of the one that it rules, it gets grumpy. So, get rid of that. It gets grumpy. So Jupiter has been grumpy, and it's getting ready to go retrograde. See this big S? That means it's slowing down. It's called station, but around here, slowing down. And then it's going to what they officially call station, which means it stops slowing down. It stops literally in the sky. If you were to be tracking it with some kind of time-lapse motion, it would literally stop, appear to stop, and then start to go the other direction. That's when it officially hits retrograde. So if you see these on your chart, you'll see, like, look over here at Chiron. It's in retrograde. This is station, and it's black, meaning that it's still moving forward, but it's slowing. It's really getting ready. And then that will turn red. That means that it's like this. And then it will say RX, and that means backward motion has begun. Well, the station retrograde, the point where it is absolutely still, is tomorrow, and we'll point that out here in just a second. But that's a little explanation on Jupiter. But this mystic rectangle is very positive. Now, it does involve our karma, our past, our wounds that we came here to heal. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings trying to figure out this human experience, right? So the soul work that so many escape because they're focused on the first part of that saying. It's a brilliant statement. We are not human beings trying to have a go to church on Sunday spiritual experience. Oh, pray on Easter and Christmas and when somebody passes away. That we are at our core. The reason we're here, what's this life about? And that's what Chiron brings to the table, because we bring stuff with us. There's stuff to do, spiritual work, and some just completely miss it. But that's, so Chiron is at the table, the moon is at the table, our subconscious mind, our emotions, Jupiter and Mercury. This is a really powerful aspect. In fact, on our program that we call Lucky Stars, which you can get at funastrology.com. It's a little monthly subscription thing. A video comes out, and we do a look at the sky from a perspective of luck. And luck can be a broad spectrum, right? You might go to a casino, or you might trade the markets like I do, or you might just want something positive in your life. What are the best days for that? Kristin Lawhead runs that up for us. She also runs our Discord group and just does a great job with all things, and she does the lunar calendar, which I'll mention is available at funastrology.com/moon. Gives you all the lunar aspects and information you need, and if you right click it, it's downloadable. So Kristin is like this little machine within the machine here, and she does Lucky Stars, and she talked about this particularly and this week on Lucky Stars. So good aspect there. All right, we are going to have to roll on. The other one that does hit exact on Tuesday is Chiron and Mercury. So there's Chiron, Jupiter, Mercury, Jupiter, Mercury, Chiron. See, Mercury is back in the fold there, and I'm sorry for the messy drawing, but hey, it gets the job done, right? You understand it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, good chicken scratch. Now, let's jump forward. Boom, there it is. Jupiter has stationed. See, now it's red S, so that's station. That means it's in the stop mode, and I forget the exact time when it begins going backward in the sky. It's just a couple of hours after this. This happens Wednesday early at 3:04 a.m. Eastern. So I keep my chart set to around sunrise. See, here's the sunrise point, and I just keep it like that because when I do the podcasts, I release them in the morning. I typically do them in the morning, so I like to have that morning chart up. Kind of lets you see what the day is set up to be, and you just get used to it as well. And speaking of, so that's Jupiter retrograde. We could spend an hour just on that. To me, the bottom line, when Jupiter goes retrograde, and look at this, let me just show you. We have Jupiter retrograde, Chiron retrograde, Uranus retrograde, Neptune and Saturn retrograde, and Pluto, at least until Friday, is retrograde, and it's moving very slow because it's getting ready to stop and start its forward motion again, and it will be heading back into Aquarius. This is the last time it will ever be in Capricorn for 250 years. Well, minus 20, 230. So for a long time. Think about how many lifetimes we would have to come back before we, even coming back many times, would see Pluto back in Capricorn. All these changes, 250-year cycle. It's as predictable as day and night with that cycle right there. So this is a big deal with Pluto. So with all that energy in retrograde, it's just like everything in our world has ground to this. Like if you're feeling like everything, and how long does it go? We go through it in the podcast. There's also a link on funastrology.com to right there. If you just scroll down a little bit, there's a page that you can click on, and it has all the retrograde dates. So everything that's upon us and everything that's ahead of us. So you can check that out as far as how long it goes. But basically through February of next year. And I outlined that also on the audio podcast with this. So this is a big deal, Jupiter going retrograde. But the thing I just would say is notice that it's with all the outer planets, all of the theme builders, all of the things that have the bigger picture in our life are all just, they're going backwards. They're either slowed down. Jupiter is really slowed down, so it's powerful. Pluto is slowed down, so it's powerful. These two guys in Pisces, I mean, a lot of the things that are going on in the world can be transferred back to the chart in this very thing, these retrograde planets. I did want to point one thing out. I mentioned this is the sunrise point, that line. And what's ahead in the sky before the sun? Well, this is interesting. What is the oracle planet in the sky? The south node of the moon is a point, and it moves, and it is in the sky before the sun, but it's not a physical point. It's an intersection point of two orbits. If we want a planet, the oracle planet is Mars. So I think kind of take your pick. I would say be aware of both. So right now we are kind of influenced by the South Node, which is cleaning up old karma in my book, and also by Mars, which can be aggression and conflict and war. And look at what's happening in our world right now. So, I mean, the chart, you can't make this stuff up, folks, and the chart shows it very clearly. All right, we're going to jump forward again. Let's go to Friday, and there it is. We were just talking about it. Pluto, station now, still in the sky at its most powerful point. And also it's very powerful because it's very close to 0 degrees Aquarius. There are 30 degrees per sign, and there are 60 minutes per degree. So this is only, 22 minutes, which is nothing, basically, in the sky. You couldn't even see it, from 0 degrees Aquarius. And this is this cleanup that's going on, like Capricorn, old things, stodgy things, worn out things. That's the shadow side of Capricorn. Not releasing what needs to be released so that we can step into the vibrant, revolutionary, progressive, new things, new ideas, new ways of doing things, new technologies of Aquarius. Well, we're stuck, so we have to get rid of that old shell before we can move forward. And that's a lot of what's going on right now. And you can extrude that out into all kinds of areas as you see them. But that's what's going on. And so Pluto now is at its strongest. We mentioned just a minute ago that Jupiter is as well. And see, now look, Jupiter is RX instead of red S. So it's now moving backward. That's how this works. So in a little bit, this will turn to an RX and Pluto will resume its move backwards. Astrology looks at the points when it stops. That's what is the station retrograde. You'll hear station retrograde. That's what's going on. So that's a big deal. The other thing that's significant with this is that this is happening right with the moon. Ooh. Now, the moon began the week in Capricorn. And if you notice right here, it still is. It's right at the end of Capricorn. It's going to cross right over Pluto and keep on going. So it moves into Aquarius at 12:31 p.m. And this station, when it goes direct, will be at 8:31 p.m. for Pluto. That's going to change a lot of stuff, especially on November 11th, I believe is the date, when it hits that 0 degrees Aquarius point. Then we start some amazing energy for the next 20 years. I'll be talking about that here and on the podcasts. Don't worry, we'll cover it. But just know this is a big pivot point in the sky this week. Pluto starting to move forward. Also, I've kind of observed, and I don't know, I'm not right on this, but I mean, whenever you have all these outer planets, which typically happens for about a 6-month period of the year, 4 to 6 month period, where you'll have so many of the outer planets retrogrades coincide like they do now, that things do just really slow down. But I think the two that slow things down the most would either have to be Pluto and or Saturn and Jupiter. Well, Pluto and Saturn have been in retrograde for quite a while, and Saturn will be coming out soon. Pluto's coming out soon, so at least there's that little bit of shift that we'll get 2 planets moving forward again here within the next month. So that is ahead of us. All right, now we got to talk about the weekend. And let me show you why. First of all, Friday, Chiron is in a favorable sextile aspect to Jupiter. Then on Sunday, Mercury squares Pluto. Then Mercury leaves Libra and enters Scorpio. The moon, just shortly after, leaves Aquarius and enters watery and perceptive Pisces. Then 30 minutes later, the moon leaves Aquarius, radical, don't tell me what to do Aquarius, and enters watery, intuitive Pisces. Then in the afternoon, Mars squares Chiron. Then in the evening, we round out the day with the Sun opposite Chiron and trine to Jupiter. You see why, if I were to list all of that out? Ugh. So, let's talk about the energy. Do you see why I spared you all of this? But look, the Sun, the essence of who you are. Mercury, your communication, your travel, your siblings, your neighbors, your love and financial lives, the beauty of things around you that you adore. Pluto, the area of transformation and rebirth, and the 3 times the power of Mars, very strong energy, and Mars, and Jupiter, and of, well, there's expansion, Mars of getting things going, getting things started, also aggression and conflict, Jupiter of expansion and good things, Uranus of surprises and zany, crazy, and our genius, the genius within, the music still in us. And Neptune of intuition and inspiration, and also of lies and deception. So all of those are in positive aspects with each other, one way or another. That's a lot of energy in positive formations. Also, we have the conflicts. We have Pluto, which rules nuclear, and we know what we're sitting on right now. Mars of aggression. Also Saturn can bring challenge, lies and deception. Are we ever going to quit lying in this world today? Can we just somebody tell the truth, please? So there are the shadow sides, and those could trigger. Absolutely could trigger. Obviously, the world's in a tinderbox. You'd be crazy not to think that these things could not happen. And yet, there are two sides to every coin. And if we look at the positive side, as I showed a minute ago, there's just a lot of positive energy in the sky this week. The choice then is up to us. Which one are we going to choose to focus on and to participate in? I'm going to choose the positive side, keep the positive perspective. All of these changes and all of this transformation that's going on is ultimately for our good. There's not one of these cycles, especially if you go back to the Pluto 250-year cycle, that once the changes were made and once the old was retired, that things were not just better, way better, brilliantly better, revolutionary better. I'm talking from the Dark Ages to the Italian Renaissance, from the oppression of England in the 1700s to the newness of the United States, the new frontier, the new possibilities, and what it became in its peak and its heyday. And now we're in this transition phase again. We will go through some tunnels, but we will emerge brilliantly, brighter than ever. It is truly the caterpillar to the butterfly. So I hope you'll choose that side with me. I'm going to be on the road. I'll see you on the podcasts. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching.